Okay, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Hope you people have seen the video lectures I have sent. After the class on Wednesday, I have sent one video lecture on Friday itself. And the other video lecture I uploaded, I am not very sure you people have seen it or not. So 2 video lectures in addition to whatever we had class on Wednesday were created and sent to you people. So have you people have gone through at least one video lecture among them in addition to the class on Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So let us see. I hope I am audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's audible.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So let us. If you have any doubts on the video lectures, previous lectures, you can ask. Otherwise, I will start discussing the topics now. Okay. So let us continue our discussion. Let us resume back to our video lectures on machine learning for image processing. Specifically, let us continue our discussion on the dimensionality reduction or feature selection. We have seen in the previous video lectures how the principal component analysis can help us in dimensionality reduction, as well as to capture the information of samples of having larger dimensions. In the previous video lecture, I have also discussed its application of principal component analysis, not only in dimensionality reduction, but also for identifying the dominant orientation in images. So because principal components or principal eigenvectors gives us the directions of maximum spread of the data, they enable us to find out or figure out the maximum dominant orientation of the data samples at hand. For example, if you are trying to classify aeroplanes or fishes or persons, so in the given image, the dominant orientation will be in one direction. So it may not be always horizontal or vertical. They may be aligned in different ways. So, but the principal component, principal eigenvector direction will give us that direction. Using that, you can align them as a pre-processing step, and then you can start extracting the features. The features can also be extracted through principal component analysis. As we have seen, projecting onto the dominant directions not only reduces the dimensionality of the data, but also encodes the information in of the samples in very small dimensions. So it's a compact representation of the data sample itself. Okay, so it is essentially extracting the features of the samples rather than taking naively the image. If you have a some image-based classification problem, you can take a image maybe of 100 cross 100 image, compute its principal components, project onto first 3 principal components or first 10 principal components. Okay, and then the principal eigenvectors and the first 10 principal components essentially gives us the feature dimension of 10 cross 1. I hope this is clear. I am sharing this screen now. Hope you are able to see the screen. Okay, so in the previous video lectures, I have essentially discussed this. Also, projecting onto the major principal eigen vectors will enable us to compactly represent the data or to reduce the dimensionality of the data. How many? It depends upon the percentage of information you want to capture. And that I have quantified using the eigenvalues corresponding to the principal directions. And that we have seen through an expression how like if you want 90% of the data, how many values or eigenvectors to be considered for projection, or how many dimensions are to be considered for projection. Similarly, for 95%, how many directions to consider and so on. Okay. So after the discussion, what we have seen is that we also have seen this example wherein we can use the identify the dominant direction as the direction of the principal eigenvector. Okay, and use it to correct the directions before reorient them to a common direction before we apply the feature extraction and classification stage. Okay, in any classification problem. So in addition to that, PCA has few other advantages or applications. So I will very briefly mention an application and then move on to the other technique, okay, of dimensionality reduction or feature selection in this class. Hope you are able to hear me, right? I need at least one reply.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. If there is any noise, etc., please let me know so that actually I can try to change the conditions here. Okay, let us consider the problem of face recognition. Okay, so this is just to give a picture of how PCA can be applied in some of the real scenarios, especially in some of the computer vision problems. See, if I ask you to develop a face recognition system, okay, assume that there are 10 persons in the data to be recognized. Okay, 10 faces or 10 persons. Okay, and then each of the person has, say, let they have 100 face images per person. Okay, so total data has how many images in the data? How many data samples are there in the data set? 1000 samples. Among that, okay, how many classes? How many classes here?
10 classes.
Yeah, 10 classes. Omega 1 to omega 10. Okay, 10 classes. Each of the class has, say, D1 to D10. Each of them are, okay, having 100 images. Let these dimensions of the face image be, say, 50 cross 50. Okay, so the dimensions of the face image is 50 cross 50. So if we are asked to develop a face recognition system, the simple approach is directly take the pixel intensities, okay, as features. So if I wish to take pixel intensities as features, how much is the dimension of feature vector? Now I want to form xk. K equal to 1 to, say, n, where capital N is equal to now how much? 1000. Okay, so among this, we have samples of all classes. Okay, PCA, as we discussed before, doesn't distinguish in between class samples. That is class 1, class 2, class 3. Okay, samples, it doesn't matter for it. It reads all class samples together and try to find out a dominant direction wherein the projection of all this data can be effectively done to reduce the dimensionality and at the same time capture most of the information. Fine. So we just consider all samples now. I hope this is clear. And each of how much dimension now? Each of them are how much dimension?
25
Belongs to
50.
how much dimension? 2500. Is it correct or not? So each of them are, say, I just put them all pixels. All pixels are the features now. Each of the pixel gives a piece of information and considered as a feature. Okay, feature. So the feature vector, if I consider xk, so it will have xk ranging from, okay, x1 up to whatever xk1 to xk 2500. Fine, 25 dimension cross 2500 cross 1 feature vector. Is this clear or not? Right? So now the question is, we want to apply principal component analysis for two reasons. One reason is to reduce the dimensionality because the dimensions of the feature vector is very high. Second reason is we want to see whether do we get a good piece of information or do we get a effective feature extraction by principal component analysis. So the question is, okay, does principal component analysis help us feature extraction? Okay, hope the discussion is clear to you all. So now let us start. So how do we develop how do we go about now? I need quick suggestions. What is our first step? You want to apply PCA, fine. So to apply PCA, okay, what should we do first? Need quick answers so that we can move on to
First,
the
we should
discussion
find
on
the
the next topic.
eigenvalues. First, we should find
First, we should find eigenvalues. Huh? What should we find first?
Covariance matrix.
Yeah. First, we should find the covariance matrix. Okay. Eigenvalues fine, eigenvectors fine, but you should start from here. 1 to where?
1000.
1 to 1000. Very good. Okay. All samples we take together. Okay. Similarly, now mean also has to be found. So mean anyway we have used above, but we will find it. Okay, by n. See here, scatter matrix or covariance matrix. You can find of them. Okay, it doesn't really. If you know a little bit of linear algebra, the eigenvectors. Okay, for if you consider unit eigenvectors. Okay, for S and sigma are exactly same. Only eigenvalues differ. Okay, if S equal to n times sigma, that is where sigma is covariance matrix and S is scatter matrix. Then the eigenvalues E1, E2 and so on. How many eigenvalues will be there by the way? Eigenvectors will be there by the way. How many will be there for this scatter matrix?
1000 will be there.
1000, right? These are exactly equal to whatever we get for this. Hope you know this. Okay, these are all same. Okay, only what will happen? What happens to the eigenvalues of covariance matrix versus the scatter matrix? Lambda 1. Can anybody tell quickly?
1000 is the number of samples. No?
1000 is the number of samples. Very good, very good. So 1000 is the number of samples. So how many eigenvectors will be there?
2500.
Good. Very good. So we will have actually the dimension of scatter matrix is 2500. Okay, we sum over 1000 samples here. Okay, so this is essentially this 2500. Okay, cross 2500. In fact, so you should have more number of samples. Okay, than the dimensions to make this covariance matrix like invertible and so on. So we have an ill-posed problem here. So to make this better post, you may add one more zero here. Okay, 1000 PSMs are 100 persons. You got the point what I am trying to tell? Okay, so you should sum over large number of like each of the xk minus m into xk minus m transpose matrix, outer product matrix is only unit rank. Okay, so if you want to bring in, if you are adding so only 1000 of them, the rank of it will be only 1000. Okay, but your dimensionality of the scatter matrix is 2500, which is higher than that, so it will be ill-posed. Okay, fine. Ill-posed in the sense that the matrix can't be invertible and so on. Such problems will come. So you should have more number of samples than the dimensions to mitigate such problems. Fine. Okay, so 2500 here. Okay, good. So now can any of you tell how does the eigenvalues of these related to this? Lambda 1 here or whatever we call is equal to, so lambda 1 I will write dash, okay, just for differentiating, is equal to, can one of you quickly relate? So
N
it is
times.
n times. Yeah, so eigenvalues will be scaled versions. Okay, just that because it's matrix is scaled version. Now you can figure out or know about these things more clearly by in linear algebra through some linear algebraic operations are understanding. Okay, for timing this is not very important. Okay, so we have the scatter matrix in place now. We have the mean vector. Okay, what is the dimension of mean vector?
$2,500 plus.
Okay, fine. So, right, good. So now what we do with this? So we have the scatter matrix now. What do we do with that? What is the next step? This is the first step. Okay, what is the next step? Got the scatter matrix from the samples? Fine. Then what should we do?
Find eigenvectors and values.
Yeah. So SE equal to lambda. Very good. Find the eigenvectors of the scatter matrix. Okay, so among the eigenvectors and eigenvalues, we choose which of the eigenvector, which eigenvector has to be chosen for projecting.
The one with the corresponding highest eigenvalue.
Yeah, lambda corresponds to lambda max. Okay, so if you want to project onto the more dimensions, you can take actually lambda max 1, lambda max 2, and so on. Okay, so after this second process, you got the find out the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Okay, find our dominant eigenvalues and vectors. Or principal people call. Vectors to process. Okay, this is second step. What is third step? Now, third step. See, in this second step, let me like second step, you got the SE equal to lambda I. What is dimension of this eigenvectors? So I got to assume that from here E1, E2, E probably E10. Okay, so these are dominant or principal eigenvectors. So what do we mean by principal eigenvectors? Please quickly
Contain the
answer.
majority of the information.
Yeah, they corresponds to lambda 1 max. Okay, lambda 2 max. And so on up to lambda 10 max. Okay, so given this now, what we want to do is see what are the dimensions of this E1 to E10. Can any of you quickly tell what are the dimensions of E1 to E10?
2500.
500 plus 1.
Right. So the original images, okay, which are in fact XK. Correct? This original image itself is XK. One of the sample itself is this original image. You factorize them. Fine. So now eigenvector is also having same dimension. It's now in vector form. Can I restructure it, okay, to look as a matrix or not? If I dimension 50 cross 50, okay, so this is referred to as principal eigenvector or eigenface image. So it's interestingly, it will capture most of the details of the data set. Say if I will show in some of the subsequent classes the in the presentation how they look like. Okay, in some real data. If we capture say for a reasonably for good number of persons, Okay, so it looks like it looks like it is also looks like a face image, and either it is referred to as either eigenface or ghost face as well. So it looks like a ghost face image or an eigenface image, essentially capturing all the face details, okay, dominant face details of the original data. Okay, so this is the first principal component. This is E1. Okay, so second one. Similarly, E2, if you look at, that also look like a ghost face image. Okay, maybe having the other details that are not there in the first principal face image. Okay, E2, E3, each of them look like okay, these are all eigenfaces. Look like faces. Okay, so and now what is third stage? So is this process, is this clear? The discussion clear? In the third stage, what are we doing? In the third step, what are we doing?
AK, sir. AK and YK.
Yeah, AK, how do you get? Say, assume that I want to now get AKs. Is equal to E transpose into XK minus M. Right? I am doing this. Here, let me do E1 first image. So EK1 I will write. Okay, please excuse me with some notations, differences. Okay, I hope you can understand. First eigenvector on phase, first phase eigenphase. See, what is this operation doing? If I want to interpret in terms, we are just finding the correlation between the eigenphase and the corresponding sample phase image XK. And then this is what is being captured in the principal component, AK1. Similarly, in the second sample phase image to the principal phase image or the ghost phase image, first ghost phase image, we are trying to find out the correlation. You people understand or not my terminology? Correlation is because two vectors, dot product of two vectors essentially does what? It's a equivalent of correlation. Okay, cross correlation. We are trying to find out the cross correlation between the eigenphases and the samples to see the component of information that is there in the sample versus the eigenphase. Similarly, we do what? Okay, AK2. Okay, for the second, with the second eigenphase. Similarly for third and so on. Right? And then from these things, we capture YK. That is principal component vector. Is this fine or not? This essentially gives what? Correlation with the very common components of all phases. That is the subtle components of the phases. Then the next subtle components. Okay, that is these are very coarse components that are there in the phases. These are little finer components in the whole phase images. These are slightly finer details in the phase images, and so on. We are capturing in terms of the principal component vector. Is this clear or not? So this is essentially what is this doing? This is a efficient feature extraction. Is this clear? Okay. And now what the PCA suggests is, if you want to apply classification technique or develop a classification technique, see, if you are asked to do nearest neighbor classifier, what do? We take actually some test samples. Say if I have 100 test samples, you compare with all these 10,000 samples, you see which is the closest sample, you assign to that person. Okay, that person class as the distance of xt with respect to the xk. Okay, this distance d xt comma k. Okay, whichever is less. Based on that, you decide it belongs to. Correct? Hope this is clear to you. You are just to find out if you are asked to apply nearest neighbor classifier, apply it and find out the sample which is closest. Okay, in terms of the direct pixel intensities here. Okay, and then assign to that class. If I now consider this, what I do is instead of comparing at the pixel level, now I compare at y case or at the feature level. So if I want to perform the classification as a fourth step, okay, what essentially I do is the distance between xt and xk is computed, okay, as so even if you want to consider in a xt and xk, if you want to compute, what we do is we, instead of computing the distances with xk's, we now compute with yt minus yk whole square. Okay, and whichever the having minimum distance, minimum, so this is done, this is translated, this distance is done across the features rather than on the image samples. Okay, to effectively do through principal component analysis, or the features extracted through principal components are used for finding the nearest neighbor. Okay, and minimum across all yk. So minimum of k, minimum in k will give us the corresponding wi star. Hope this is clear. Okay, this is how the principal component analysis is also used in classification. Okay, and once these E1 to E3 or E10 are formed, okay, these can be kept as constant, like as a length eigenfaces or ghost faces, and these can be used for the subsequent like classification task simply by projecting onto them the test sample and finding out the error with respect to the features of the training samples. Oh, please ask me if you have any doubts here. I will continue the discussion with other technique now. So on the application of principal component analysis for the face recognition, if you have any questions, you can quickly ask.
So eigenfaces are something we get from the training data only.
Yeah. Right. Correct. Yes. Eigenfaces are those which come from all training data, all class training data.
So testing data might have different eigenfaces. Then will we get the principal component?
No. See, test data is assumed to be in one of the classes, right? So the test data doesn't differ much, okay, from the training data. That's what is the common assumption. So we will be projecting the training samples also onto the eigenfaces. Similarly, the test sample also. Here xk will be replaced by xt, that's all, to get the features. Okay, and then in the feature space, we find out the distance to find out the nearest neighbor classifier or whatever. You can use even sophisticated classifiers. Instead of using direct image pixels, we use now the features, principal components for developing the classifier.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Because test data is usually also is like that, right? So we develop a classifier with trained data only. Okay, test data is assumed to be having similar distribution as that of the trained data or similar characteristics as that of the trained data. Then only we can test them effectively. So in general, while developing the methods, people divide the data into train, test, and validation data, where validation data is the one which is not used in training, but mimics the test data, which may, like, it will give us an idea on an unseen data, how does the method works. Okay, that's usually used in the development of the method. And people also use cross-validation. There is a method called cross-validation, wherein what they do is, if we have 100 data samples, they will divide the data samples into 5 folds or some folds. Okay, so if we have 100 data samples, okay, so what 1 to 100, so they divide this into 5 folds, assume that. Okay, so then what we do is, we use 4 folds for training at any of the time and another fold for testing. Okay, and then we keep changing. So these are all for training. Okay, these folds, 4 folds for training. Okay, and then the last fold maybe for testing at the first time. Okay, for training, this is for testing. Okay, next time what we do, this is for testing and these 4 folds for training. Okay, next time what do we do? So this may be for testing and the this one and these for training. Okay, like that. So we repeat how many times now? Like this 5 times. If we repeat, we'll be spanning every time 80 samples for training. Okay, 20 samples for testing. Okay, but all samples will be considered as test sample. Okay, at one of the folds. Okay, so in that way we span to see how each of the sample in general get tested when we train with other samples. So this is used as a process of development of the classifiers. So some such tricks are used to consider the testing data, which is not seen, but nevertheless we assume that the test data is roughly the same distribution as train data while developing classifiers. Fine. Is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Okay. So any other questions? Okay. So if we have no other questions, okay, let me see what are the limitations of this principal component analysis. Do you think that this is ideal for any classification problem to apply principal component analysis and the project the data onto the lower dimensions to reduce the dimensions of the data? Let this be one class samples. Okay, and these be another class samples. Okay, now I want to apply principal component analysis to reduce the data dimensions. Okay, and then apply, develop finally a classifier. Okay, my aim is to classify finally. So what is the dominant direction here? What do you think is the dominant direction? So I want to project onto one dominant direction, right? So along the principal eigenvector. So which is the direction of principal eigenvector without computing? Can one of you guess quickly?
X2.
Okay. Should I project onto the X2? So X2 is what is being suggested. So fine. So I think, is this the dominant direction?
135 degrees, sir.
135 degrees. Fine, good. So somebody is suggesting this, I think, roughly. Correct? Okay. So roughly this. Okay. Any of the students have any other comments? Which is better? This 135 degrees is better. This X2 is better.
35 is better.
135 is better. Okay. So it's approximately X2, but I think it is accurately 135 degrees, more accurately. Fine. Now the question is, I will use this direction for projection. If I project onto this direction, do I have any issue in developing the classifier?
You won't be able to classify.
Yeah, we won't be able to classify. Okay, the samples which are not overlapping in the 2 dimensions, okay, they are still linearly separable in 2 dimensions. You can easily see that. They are not, however, separable if I project them, right, onto this direction. So PCA is not very ideal for application of classification problems in all the scenarios. It may be good in reasonably many scenarios, okay, or in some of the scenarios, but it is not ideal for classification. Okay, even if you want to consider for projecting onto the one dimension, there are better dimensions on which I can project and still separate the data. But PCA may not be able to suggest that direction for projecting the samples. Do you suggest any other direction on which I can project and still separate the data? I want to figure out any other direction. I don't want to get guided by this PCA. Okay. So do you suggest any other
45
direction on
degrees.
which? Huh?
45 degrees.
Yeah, on 45 degrees. Okay, good. So let me project now the data onto the 45 degrees. So this is the direction, right? You are suggesting. Fine. So on this now, if I project the data, most of the data samples are here. Okay, most of these data sample, class 2 data samples are here. So I can easily suggest. So this direction, okay, if I consider that this is the better direction for projection, then if this is the direction I want to find out, okay, I want to denote this with W. Is there any method, good method for doing this? That is the next question. Okay. So I want to figure out, especially to project onto a single direction or a one dimension. Okay. So is there any better direction when I have a large number of samples, xk, with me to project and still classify them better? Okay. So my main objective now is to develop a classifier. Okay. Not just to reduce the projection error. Previously, my objective was to reduce the projection error. Now, the motive for me, okay, is to want to project anyway, fine. So I want to find yk, which is equal to W transpose xk. So this is the process of projection, fine. Okay. But the main aim is after projection, yk has to be, okay, linearly separable. When I mean by linearly separable, for what? Between class 1, okay, omega 1 and omega 2 class samples. For right? Linearly, projections are to be linearly separable for omega 1 and omega 2 samples, as my main objective is what? Is classification. Okay. So now tell me, how should I proceed in developing a method, okay, that projects onto the direction where I can effectively separate the class 1, class 2 samples. I want to figure out now W. Okay, my objective is this. Linearly, I would like to separate them and classify them finally. So can one of you give any hints on this? How, where should I start? How should I start and so on? Some nice inputs I need. Quick inputs as well. Okay, so let me see. I am interested in classification. So what should I do first? I should first separate the class 1, class 2 samples. Okay, then only I can speak about developing a direction or finding out a direction which will separate the class 1 and class 2 samples better. Okay, this is roughly equal to, so I am rewriting this as, okay, I will also write for simplicity as k equal to 1 to n2. Okay, so this and this are not same. Okay, so we have n1 samples in class 1, n2 samples in class 2. Let this be belongs to omega 1 and let this be belongs to omega 2. Fine. So for developing the method itself, I started from the objective of classification. So I separated the class 1, class 2 samples. Okay. So now given this, see, can you tell some characteristics, which is a better direction? Now I want to develop a method, fine, but give me some hints on what kind of properties this W should look for, or which is the direction I should look for?
So the direction between the direction which signifies the distance between the mean of the two classes.
Okay, very good. So one suggestion is here, let this be the mu1, mu1. See, when we call about means, there are two means here. In sense that one is direct mean or in 2 dimensions. Okay, this is the mean in 2 dimensions. Another is projected mean. Okay, this is in 1 dimension. Please note that there are two things. Okay, similarly here, projected mean may be somewhere here. Right? How these two are related? Can quickly one of you tell? Is equal to? How should I relate this to the original mean of the class 1 samples?
W transpose M1.
Very good. W transpose M1. Similarly, M2 tilde, this projected mean of class 2 is equal to W transpose M1. Very good. M2. Okay, good. So now one suggestion that is given for us is, see, the distance between the means, okay, has to be as large as possible, in the sense that you want to differentiate the clusters after projection. Okay, you want to differentiate the center of the class 1 samples, center of the class 2 samples as far as possible. So one object to it, I think it's very good point. Okay, so I will start documenting it. I need the next answer. Follow up. So one of this objective function is M1 minus M2. See, which should I look for? M1 minus M2, I should look for original mean difference or the projected means difference, which has to be higher.
Projected means.
Projected means difference.
Projected means why? Original mean difference I can't maximize, is it? Original
Original
means are,
mean is constant, right? Original mean
yeah,
difference is
very
a
good.
constant.
It's a constant. It's not in our hands. Okay, samples are given. Okay, only based on the direction you project, the mean projected means differ, and hence this is what you want to find out W also, direction of projection. So this involves what you need to identify is that W which will maximize the projected mean difference. Okay, so let this be some objective function. So we'll write so objective function. Okay, so involving M1 and M2. So I will write here this objective function in fact involves, okay, W. So because this is the direction of projection. Other things are involved, but I am writing just like this. Okay. So maximize with respect to what? Maximize with respect to what? Maximize with respect to W. Fine or not? You need to identify direction W, which will maximize this M1 minus M2 whole square. Very good. Okay, so then what is another point? Any other points? So is that all? I may have a nice scenario. Okay, if this is the case, I may create a scenario where mean difference is maximized. So I'm sketching the samples now. Okay, so even these I can skip. Okay, so these are the samples now. So I can project onto any direction, right? So I will project onto this direction. Here, if you see the mean M1, okay, if these are all class 1 samples, M1 tilde is here. Okay, M2 tilde is here. So mean difference is very high here. If I project here, though this is M1 tilde and this is M2 tilde. So which direction should I take now? This direction or this direction? This let this be W1, okay, and the other one be W2. Which one should I take to project the samples? Yeah, please give quick answers.
W1, sir.
Huh? W1 should I take? Okay, fine, very good. Oh, here there are no mixed samples, right? No, so let me put some samples. Okay, now tell me, which direction should I take?
W2, sir.
W2 I have to take. Okay, so now see why then if we consider the means are well separated, it's only in W1. So there should be other condition as well. What do you think is other condition?
The variance should be minimum along the projected direction.
Any other suggestions? These are the projected samples here. Here. Okay, these are also to be clustered as compactly as possible. Okay, samples here. Okay, in fact, S1 is a scatter matrix of class 1 and samples. Okay, S1 comma S2 be scatter matrices. Okay, and then S1 tilde square and S2 tilde square. Scatter matrices are variances of samples in projected direction. Like scatter matrix in one dimension is nothing but variances. Projected samples. Then what ideally should happen is that the objective function, whichever we consider, okay, has to have what? What did we discuss? The variance has to be which variance you speak of? All total variance? Yes.
Class-wise
Or-
variance.
Class-wise variance. Okay, has to be what?
Minimum, sir.
Yeah, S1 tilde square or S2 tilde square. How should I calculate the total class-wise variance? So this is total within class variance. Okay, this is defined as within class variance. Okay, has to be as minimum as possible. In projected direction. What does this ensure? This just ensures that the samples are very compactly represented in that direction. So that, okay, that's the good direction to compactly represent the data of class 1 and class 2. Okay, so what should I do now? This I posed previously as a maximization problem. So I can pose it as S1 tilde square plus S2 tilde square. Okay, so squares I let me put here. Okay, it's up to me whether up to us whether we put square or not. It's okay. It's just notational change. If you want to skip squares all through, that is also fine. Okay, so S1 tilde plus L2 tilde and maximize with respect to W again. Okay, for good optimal direction of W. And how do we define scatter matrix here? S1. How do we define? You should tell faster than what I write. Okay, consider only class 1 samples and then define the scatter matrix of class 1. Similarly, S2 is defined considering only the class 2 samples. Okay, you can consider covariance matrix or scatter matrix. It doesn't matter much. Okay, it's just the scale. Okay, that changes. Finally, we are interested in direction of W, not on the magnitude of W. Okay, we want anyway unit direction along which we should proceed the samples. Is this fine? Can one of you tell how does S1 tilde is defined? It's not very directly clear here. No answer? Is this correct? Hmm? Hope you
Yes.
are there still in the class. Is this fine or not? Whatever I am writing. So S1 tilde is the variance of projected samples. What are projected samples that are Yk? How is Yk and Sk related? Yk is equal to, okay, W transpose Xk. Fine. And these samples now, we M1 tilde is the projected mean. Variance is calculated as Yk minus M1 tilde whole square for class 1 samples. When we consider projections of class 1 samples, similarly, class 2 samples. Is this fine or not?
Yes, sir.
Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please ask if you have any questions. Yeah, fine, good. So now, given these two, okay, this condition means are well separated. And the second one is the variances are very small. Okay, we formulate the overall cost function. Okay, so in the next class, we will see how exactly this cost function can be minimized. I think it requires probably another 10-15 minutes of discussion. After that, we will see this method of relying on separating the class 1, class 2 samples and trying to see the projections of the mean class 1 class 2 samples are compact and well separated is referred to as Fisher's linear discriminant analysis. At the end, in more details, Fisher is the scientist who proposed this. Okay, it's a linear discriminant because it separates by it projects onto the linear line. Okay, and separates by whatever the point. You can find out a decision boundary after projecting onto the linear line. Okay, it enables us to reduce to a single dimension. Okay, it doesn't help to come directly to multiple dimensions. Project onto multiple dimensions. Okay, fine. So we will conclude the class for today's class here. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, thank you then.